Okay, so it's time to have fun with the AST, and we basically need to capture the method name as our first challenge. So if we wanted to build something, we can just say fast search and then pattern and expression. I never remember the order, so we wanted to say def and then capture the name of the method. So if I use capture, it will ignore the node. But as we are going to need the node implementation, the node content, we need to find it. So what's important here is that we are going to first inline this as it is, so it will not work for complex expressions and maybe we will not cover the argument. So let's build it step by step. And so I would say that we can start with this expression. So let's go to leave fast inline. Okay. Oh, I am already here. And on inline here we have this expression. So our previous step was make a replacement, and we basically we get some send and make a replacement if you find the send using the get. So here we will have a different approach because we need to know the methods that are defined and call the methods defined. So one simple thing we can start is just getting the method names, method defined, and methods defined, and we can say that it's a fast capture of so this will return the method names. And then in another moment we can just find who is calling this. So this is what we want to replace. So we'll have a replacement of someone that is sending something. So I have send of new because I am in the context of the object, and then here I will need to interpolate multiple method names. So as I have multiple, I can use this expression, then I can just interpolate some Ruby string here. Oops, sorry. So what we are going to interpolate here is methods, let's say method names, and refactor this to be more easy to understand. So we wanted to use this. So here is the first thing, and we are just capturing method names, but we could capture like method definitions, and also let's count that we are just covering simple methods for now. So what's the difference of simple methods? The difference is that args here is a node without anything, so we can just say args as well. So we can say that we are looking for some methods that have args like this, and the next thing here is the body. So we will have the body, and the body is something that we wanted to find again. So we can use search here if we wanted to have just method name. Let's just build it with this simple code example, and then we can just keep moving for a more complex case. Okay, so we don't have the replacement yet. So the replacement is replacing send stuff. So what we are going to do in the replacement is first we can drop the method if you want, and the other thing is sorry, and we can also replace the method usage. So dropping the method, we need to use search here to drop it, and then we don't need to capture because we will have everything inside the method. So let's say methods, and then I can have method names here. Method names equal methods map. I can just say nodes, and then I can get children 1, for example. In this case, the first children is the method name. Oh, it's 0, sorry. And the second is argument. So yeah, we have this as method names, and we could also have here method definitions that will be useful, but let's do it step by step first. So the first thing is just grab for these guys, and the replacement function will get their usage, and we'll just replace the usage with the source, and basically we will have something very similar to what we have here. So let's move our binding right here, and then we can get into some more specific looks like we have not reached anything because methods names is probably broken. So let's see how it goes. Okay, now I have methods, and I just have one method. Okay, and if I call like method names here, I have one, so it should work. And what this expression should work? We have a problem. Probably if we try this, let me get this first part. So if I try here fast search, it will not return anything, and it will not return anything because probably method names here need to be joined by some space, because it's just returning some square there, and then we have also this extra underscore that we don't need. So this fix what we want, and this is what we can say usage. So this is the usage of the current method. So let's say method usage and Let's just call this as the pattern, and then we can say here replace method users, and then here we can say that this is users, and now probably we are in a better moment. So let's try it again and let's see what we have in users. Okay, now we have users, and we have also method names, and that's what we need to start. So we need now to navigate into users and then find the method definition and then find the code of the method definition. So this is our first step. So let's implement it. So we can say users stuff reach to users, and the users here is a node. So this is the node that we are going to replace with the source of the other method. So what's the source of the other method? We need to find the source. So we need to find a method and def. Let's get method, define it. We can capture it directly. So we can just capture the method source, picking the begin. So let's just move our binding right here, and we can just continue debugging the first case. So usage here is just 1, and what we want to do now is fast search on def 1. In this case, it's like a usage children lasts, and then we can just search. We are going to search on AST. So this is the def. So here we can get the implementation that is after. Oh, so sorry, I need to close and open parens here, and I can just say args and close parens, and then I can say that I wanted to capture this node, and here I can say capture directly, and I get just what I really wanted to pick as the implementation. So this is the method definition, so the method body, and this is what we are going to use to build the source there. So let's put this code here. So this is the body, and the source is basically source equal def body location expression source. So this is what we have, and we are basically getting the method call and picking the source and replacing, and then we can get the method definition here and remove it. So we can say remove def method. We need to create a def method, but def node, let's say, def node location expression. So that's what we want to remove. So here, instead of do this, we can do search, and we can just get the first, because we know that we will just have one, and then we will have the method search here, and this is the def node now, and def body is just the def node children last. So yeah, much easier to digest. And that's it. So let's try to run without binding pry now. Okay, cool. We just have a single one space inside, so we can just streamline the example and improve expectation here. So we have one space here. If we run it again, green. Oh, great pleasure on seeing everything green. And this was a very good example, and we covered one single part, like simple methods being called internally. We also have instance methods or any other examples, like I can define a class, define a method, and then reuse the method. And how could we approach all these things? So we need to have this like same replacer working in several different levels. So for example, let's say today we have this as a code, but probably we will need to have some like function that we can say inline all, and then this can mix local variable, method definition, and use like internal scopes, like just inside classes, find examples, and so on. So this is raw, and it does not cover very well all the cases, but we can just continue making progress and building, and in the near future we can do some refactoring. So yeah, we created the method definition, and we can just start committing this first part. So add the lib spec, and then we can say okay, so now let's just come back to the other case we will have, and this will probably fail, and we can start looking for this case. So def plus one number, and then we will have an internal number, and this method call could be inlined, and this method definition could be inline. So we have two cases. One is get the argument and just replace the argument, mapping the param number here, or even the let's say we could say here, instead of plus one, let's say we could have one example saying amount, and this could be plus, and then this can be amount So yeah, this is not a good example, but this just representing that Ruby is very flexible and we have a few ways to say the same. So yeah, the major idea here is we cover arguments and remove the entire method definition, taking care of replacing the, the current implementation, looking for these simple identifiers. Okay, so let's see how it will break if we just run it. What's happening here? So we don't have a children for new on line 34. Okay, so here saying the def node doesn't match because this match is very different. So probably we will need to have a different implementation. So the example says that the def node is new because it does not find the node here. So we need to get prepared for it. So I will just put some binding right here and we can start debugging and then we can try to cover just this case. So we are trying to run line 37. So yeah, 39. So let's just run this example. Okay, so what we have in the ST, what we have in the method names, we have buzz right here. Okay, and then we have method users. So method users. Oh, for some reason method users does not work as I expected. Oh no, sorry, it's okay. It's just inline +1, right? So we just say that it can find send new of +1, and that's good. And then here, when I am trying to use the users, so basically the replacement is getting method users. So let's get the first users. Users equal fast search, AST, method users. Okay, we found the users. And the next part is that when we try this usage as the last usage, we could not find it. So for some reason, let's say usage equal users at first, and then we can just pick here and say def method body. Oh no, sorry, def node, find def node here. Okay. It couldn't find def node because this expression that is different, and here we could say just like this. Oh, children last will not work here, so we need to pick the proper name because children last is sending. So let's just evaluate this part. Yeah, that's why you will hate to try to use Node children navigation directly, and that's why we use fast and try to do that for us. Okay, so in this case we have extra parameters, so we know that we are always talking about the children one instead of last. So let's just switch to children one for now to see how it goes. Okay, so looks like I wrote both now. Okay, so what's going on here? Children last does not exist, but let's just try to third line. Okay, so we have usage and usage children one is what we say +1, and sorry. Okay, now we have something a bit better. We got some error because it does not know how to handle the argument yet, but still we got some replacement working. And what we just missed is pick the internal node and replace the current implementation with some argument replacement. So this is one of our targets here, and this is interesting target because we are going to be replacing multiple times in what we wanted to do. So the first thing is we are going to replace the method implementation and bind the argument as a call, and then in the second step we are going to remove the call. So before we do this replace, we need to do another one that should just pick the parameter and remove it. So I'm not sure exactly how we are going to do that yet. So we need to try to find it. So okay, we need to capture here just one detail, do not make difference. So, but here, what we need to do is that our source, the def body source, need to be changed before we use this function. So that's the problem. So we need to do something with this source. So let me just put the binding right here, and we need to analyze step by step. Okay, so source here is number, and we know def nodes have the number, right? And we have the def body, and the def body have a local variable number. So we need to get def node arguments, that is argument number, and we need to capture it, and then we need to find the usage of this internally, and then we will need to replace it with the result of our method call. So our method call is here, we use usage, and this is the last parameter, that is the argument. So we know the arguments of the usage, and we are going to navigate into the arguments and pick one by one, and then we are going to search internally and replace internally. So the first thing is, like, we can navigate in arguments and search in the body, and this is our first step. So let's say args equal fast search, fast capture. Okay, so this is the args, and in this case I will just keep with some star here, because if we have multiple, we can capture multiple. Oops, no, it just become a different thing. Okay, and then we need to bind this value. So I could say here arg and capture the argument number. That could be more interesting. Okay, so if I use search here, just to confirm, probably I can just capture as, oh no, it's bringing the search, so let's continue with capture. Okay, so this is one thing, and then the next step is search for this. So I am going to define lvar, and then I will have like something like this, and then here I can say args. And let me just use some split note here to guarantee. So I have local variable with this. Let me just. I forgot to just interpolate here. So I need to have this as Ruby argument, and here I close the brackets, and here I have the multiple arguments that I am looking for them as local variables. And I have just one here. I forgot to use, I don't want to use captures and do not use args. So I'm going to use search, and here I can say arg usage. Okay, so I have the argument usage, and then with this I can just pop the value from the argument from the usage method call, and create some um, how can I say, argument mapping what are the values. So that's one thing that we need to do. So we are going to capture um, these arguments and also this argument usage. So this is two very important parts that we need to build. Mhm. Let's just remove this part that we are not going to use. And okay, so okay, so under this part now, I have the collection of arguments, and I can just I could go argument by argument and and try to do some replacement. So um, we have these method arguments that are inside this usage. So the usage is just bringing the send here, and we have the params, the arguments. So here we say that def body is the def node, but we will also have uh, arguments binded. So arguments bind is the list from the usage. So usage is a send new blah 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 with some extra arguments. So they are the last. So usage children last. And this represents the list of arguments that I'm going to build. And I need to iterate with this part, and this part is a single thing. So we need to break it down in somehow and make it just work together. So as I'm going to go like argument by argument here, I know that I am binding element by element. So what I can do here is, for example, let me just um, normalize this thing. Okay, and then I have arguments bind. So I will have argument value, and then I can connect the value with the usage. So um, I could do like a map here, for example, or create a hash. So for example, um, let's say we can use a hash. So we will have value, and we need to bind this from the arg. So I can say args oops, args.map, then I will have argument name here, and I will have the value. So I can say something like arg and oh sorry, arguments bind, let's shift it in this case. So I'm going to shift every element inside this args map. Let's use some hash here because it will be easy. So let's say each inject so we have the hash and the argument is the key and the value is being shifted from the first element. Okay, so now I have this expressions with the values and probably I can do something with it. So here are like params inline. Let's put this name for now and let's just see how it goes here. So I will try to run only the spec we are going. Okay, we got a shift that did not work here. Oh, argument binds have a similar issue. Oops. With the inline, so let's try again. Okay, so I have the hash params inline. Oh no, I should return h and do not only arg. So let's fix it. So if we just have this h here, I never know what is the best option for such kind of map, but now I have params inline. Okay, good. And what we have more here, usage. We have a usage, and we have we wanted to just replace the entire usage. But the first thing is this. So okay, so the current state we still not replacing the call of the number. So this is what we need to build yet. Let me just confirm here. So we have the arguments bind, and we capture the argument and pick this from the method's definition. So this part is very good. We just make it works, and what we need to guarantee now is the arg usage. So arg usage is not being used yet, and this is one extra replacement that we are going to do. So if we run it, arg usage, it shows the local variable that we have. So we wanted to replace this with the inline of what we have on params inline. So that's our next step. So we can say each argument usage case, we wanted to replace the location of this with the value inline. So arg usage the h2 method argument call. So this could be the name, and we can say that we wanted to replace the argument call location expression with the params inline, and here on the params inline I need to pass the proper argument. So this is the first children, so I can just say param name arg name equal arg call dot children last. We just have one children, so I can easily do that. And here I have arg name. This needs to be before this, and with this replacement, the other replacement should work. Fingers crossed we don't have a clobbering issue, because this is a pain in the ass when we are supporting multiple. Oops, I forgot that argument bind shift here. It does not work properly. Let's just take a look why it does not work. Because this is just one integer. What's the argument here? It's numbers, and arguments bind, it's 1. So where arguments bind come from? I don't remember. So arguments bind, it's the use children last. So probably this is not working very well. So let's just debug this expression, and let's discover usage children. Okay, but when I put a star here, it's pretty fun. So this usage children last with the star in the beginning just become the 1 and not the integer, and we wanted to pick the integer, so we need to use it different. Okay, so if we try like this, okay, so argument bind need to have it differently, and as we are shifting element by element, we can just use like this. Let's try to run the specs again. Empty for AES21. So okay, so probably we are still saying something wrong here. Yes, so probably these params inline now are shifting the argument, and this is like params inline. This is not the source call, but what we want to do is the source call. So we need to say location expression source. So let's just use it very weird here, and now we'll have it in line. Nope, not yet. So what's going wrong here? Okay, this is what we are doing behind the scenes. So let's just run it again and see. Oh, I broke the syntax. So it says replace string 1 to 2 with the value 1. Yeah, so it says okay. So we are doing the replacement in a proper way. Looks like at least, and 122 looks like something bigger than what we are going to replace. So let's inspect it a bit better. So instead of call here location expression source, let's see what it looks like. So replace number with 1. So that's exactly what we want. And probably this is related to the next step. So let's just comment the rest and see how it works. Yes, so it works. You can see here it calls 1 plus 1, but it does not work combined with the previous examples. So that is the problem. We are replacing multiple stuff in the same example. So this is a kind of issue that we frequently get when we are working in multiple shots of replacements, and then when we do more replacements, like let's say for example we have this now, and when we run our spec, I just did move it to another folder pressing F before, sorry. Okay, so for example, this now you can see that we have here the 1 plus 1 that was successfully replaced, and then we have here the method call that is supposed to be the implementation that was not being properly treated. So once more, let's just analyze and confirm my guess. So we have plus 1 being called, and this plus 1 replaces the proper implementation. So what we need to do is just remove everything and extract this internal implementation properly written. So this is Not so simple, but it's possible because we have I don't want to to be so long on this, but basically when uh, we could call a replacement for the inner node here, but it's still the variable names would work differently, so it would be a bit weird to fix variable scopes and so on. So looks like we got into something bigger than what we previously have, and we need to think more about how to make it happen. So, for example, let's say if I move this replace to be here before, let's see that it will also behave differently. So yeah, and and probably we could do some replacement directly on this using regular expressions, but I don't want to use regular expressions, but basically the solution would be something like this. So I have some output here, and then I need to iterate under the arguments, and I could say that I can do output dot gsub, and then I can call the expression and what's the parameter line, and I can say here gsub. So I can just return the output, and probably it output is almost what we wanted to do here. So oops, I just lose some context, and okay, so I got some issues with the argument usage. So this argument usage comes from here. So I could rebind the AST and make it with a new AST. So for example, let's say this is like two different processes. So let's just move it here for now, and we can do the replacement and rebuild the AST, for example, and then we can pick the arguments and so on. So okay, so I got some issue with args now in the previous implementation because params inline is still here. I don't need this. I am just using def node and usage, so I don't need this part, and this part probably belongs here. So arguments bind is okay. So arguments bind here. Well, I have args. I just don't have the usage because the usage here becomes from this method users. So I can say users is equal this now, for example. So this is exactly the same. And then here we have another scenario that covers that part. So probably we can strip it into multiple cases. And okay, so I have usage or usages. Okay. Okay, so let's just focus on one just to make some code example works, and then we can just move forward. Okay, so we got some outputs that is not working because it's a lock expression, and then here we try to use gsub with lock expression, so we need to say source. Yeah, it almost worked, and basically we have a few details here that does not work properly, like I am just allowing one method usage and some very specific things, but probably we could do like better um, search for occurrences and make it more easier to reindex and find it, because we are talking about crossing reference. So like this is the first part that should work for everything, and this next part should work for the cases that have columns. So probably it would work to just start verifying what is what case, and then we have like method def with arguments, method def without the arguments. So yes, so let's do a short break and we can keep refactoring.